The boys, sure, get out of the house, go do something, you know. You're ready to let them go. It's different. So she changed the subject. And then Prabhupada looked at me and he said, "What did she say?" I said, "Oh, I said, you defeated her, Prabhupada." So then you see we're looking at each other and he's laughing. He always had fun with reporters, but he was never defensive. You couldn't say something that he would become, he did the opposite, he would say. He would go to the next. When they said, "You're in a Rolls Royce," he said, "Why Rolls Royce? Should be gold car." So he didn't feel intimidated by anyone. When he went to Vrindavan with all his Westerners to give them first initiation, second initiation, sannyas initiation, in Vrindavan, amongst all the Goswami temples there. He wanted to do it. He literally wanted to push it right in their faces to see Mahaprabhu's movement, his potency. Now, no, who can deny it now? No one can deny it anyway. So I'm massaging his head, then I finish, then I use the bottle of mustard oil. So it was just, we would just buy a bottle of mustard oil and travel around with it. So now I'm massaging his back. And when I finished, I get up and I have to move to the side. But I hit the bottle of mustard oil, so it spilled on the floor because I didn't put the cap on. Everything was, so even when you were massaging, you would put the oil in, you put it down, you should have put the cap back on. This is how focused he was, everything. So I knocked it over. He tried to save it. Hari Sari told me the same thing happened to him. Prabhupada picked it up before it even spilled. He knew what was going on. We were fumbling around, but he caught it. But with me, he didn't catch it, so it spilled. I grabbed it, picked it up. And then he said to me in a very loud voice, "You fool, you'll be intelligent when you're 80. And then he was very upset. And then he said, "Go get a katuri." Katuri means cup, little bowl, a stainless steel bowl. And this thali means you have the plate, and katuris, little cups of the vegetables, rice stuff. He said, "Go get a katuri." Just sent me right out of the room. So I went right next to her. I got a cup. I came back in the room, and he said, "Do as I'm doing." This was always another one of those instructions that you can follow eternally. So then the cup's on the floor, and he sticks his hand right in the oil, flat, right in it, and he starts scraping it into the cup. So we're both scraping this oil that I spilled on the floor, the mustard oil, into the cup. And we got it all off. I mean, the floor was shiny, but the oil was pretty much up and in the cup. And then he said, "Use that oil to massage me." So he was really just, I felt bad, and then I felt worse, and then I felt worse. So now he's telling me to massage him with the oil that we just picked up off the floor. And of course, so I did, and there's little dusty things in it and stuff, and I'm massaging it. And as I said earlier, when I'm thinking, what am I going to say? How do I get out of this very depressing situation? I never thought saying, "Prabhupada, I'm very sorry, I'll never do it again." I never said to Prabhupada, "I'm sorry." I always had to, in my own way, say something to make everything way better than that. Because that's just an apology. That's not fixing it, in my opinion. So now I'm massaging him, and he's just sitting there, eyes closed, and he would have one of them little gold, Tulsi gold, and put it over his ears when you did it, so it would hang around here like a little necklace for his chin, And he's just sitting there, and I'm moving around, half hour, not one word being said. And the last thing he did was yell at me, screamed at me. So that never felt good. But I'm working. I already know. But saying it, that was the problem. Saying something to him. Because he's not talking. So you don't know how he feels. What he's thinking. I just know he's angry, and it feels like the whole room is, they say you can cut it with a knife. It felt very thick in there. So finally I'm at the end, and I'm rubbing his feet, oil, and I go, Prabhupada. I said, thank you very much. I said, I thought it'd take much longer for me to become intelligent. And he started laughing and laughing and laughing and slapping his leg, and just like the Prabhupada I always knew. He was the same Prabhupada, you know. And he's laughing and slapping his leg, and he goes, yes, he said, very good. He congratulated me. He said, when we were children, he said, if someone did something foolish, we'd all say, you'll be intelligent when you're 80, you fool. He said, so I've used it on you. So to me, it was a blessing. That's what I said, Prabhupada, you blessed me. I said, I thought it would take much longer. So he appreciated a good sense of humor, a good comeback. He wasn't at all. And then immediately I was happy, because that was the Prabhupada I met. I first just laughing, like you could make him laugh. Yes. So, your turn.
How often you, I mean, maybe it happens every day, I don't know, how often you really remember something that you haven't remembered before because you spent so long with Prabhupada?
I don't know. It's repetition. Repetition definitely helps. I've been, doing this off and on for many years. So fortunately, my long-term memory, I have some left. My short-term memory is really struggling. But long-term, at least it's still there. Hopefully it will stay there. I don't want to lose that. I don't mind losing the short-term memory, but as long as I can get from one place to the next, But yeah, I don't want to forget those things. So it's because I speak about it. And even doing it, there's always something different in there. There's always another way to see it, better understanding. Like I said, let me see, do I have it? I haven't showed you. Did I bring Prabhupada's shoes? Yes, I did. Everybody got Prabhupada's slippers on their head, right?
No, you didn't. No?
Yes.
No one?
No, everyone did.
I think you were just saying that. I think you just want to do it again.
No, I didn't.
I did.
I honestly didn't.
Okay.
That was in morning class, not everybody was here.
Ah, wow, see that? You missed out. Now we'll figure it out, we'll do it. But I want to show you this one picture because it's the first picture of me with Prabhupada as a servant. And it was also very special, if I can get it. It's in here somewhere. Aha. Jeez. So, aha, here we are. Here, you can pass that around. That's my first morning walk with Prabhupada as his servant. And so it's the first picture I've seen me with him. So that's in September 1972. So literally, it's my first morning walk. And in the picture, you see what's going on. There's the chadar, just like this, Prabhupada's chadar. And we're both holding it. And the reason we're both holding it is because we're on the morning walk, and the morning walk means the sun's coming up. So the temperature's changing. It goes from dawn, and then it becomes light, it gets a little warmer. So he took his chadar off that he had wrapped around him, and he hands it to me. And I grabbed it, and I was such a dimwit. I didn't know what to do. I just kind of grabbed it, and so he pulled it away from me. He grabbed it. And then he said, like this. So the picture is literally him and I. He's showing me how to fold a piece of cloth. This is our position. And it's very nice to see that. I said I didn't know how to do anything other than Prabhupada showed me. I couldn't even fold a cloth properly. So he took it, and then he handed it back to me. So that's that picture. So I find that it's a very, I just saw it in that way. I've seen the picture before, but I never connected. But then I realized what was going on. So it was very nice to see that. So that's how patient he was. Imagine, 1972, I'm already about his 8th servant in 5-6 years. So he's been through a lot of people. He's got to show everyone what to do all over again. And there was no there was no stress about it. He showed me how to use the cooker. He used the cooker there 3 days in a row. He showed me how to cut the vegetables, put the rice in the thing, the temperature, and he did it very patiently. Again, I wasn't the first person he showed, you know. Unfortunately, I picked it up pretty well, so I was able to use it. Yes, I was 21-year-old Sruta Kirti there, yeah.
What spices would you use when you made like
We had, at that time, you know, we had the little spice things. They all had cumin, coriander, asafoetida, turmeric, we had crushed red chili, mustard seed. I didn't know much beyond that. That was but it worked out. You know, it worked out well. But just a combination, and that's what he showed me with. So I just basically did what he showed me. I just kept doing that. Yeah, you wanted to.
Oh yeah, about this mustard oil. being made
Oil.
up. Maybe can you say something about Prabhupada's frugal nature? If you had, I mean,
Well, you see, that's, you know, that was what he did. We used that oil to massage him. He wasn't even going to waste the oil that spilled on the floor. The floor was clean, oil was, he just used it. If you look in his diary in Europe, 65, you'll see him putting how much he spent for butter, you know, 15 cents for salt, you know, 10 cents for this, a stamp, everything he recorded. But if you really want to hear about frugality, you have to talk to Tejas Prabhu, who lived in Delhi for a number of years. He would have to take the bus from Delhi to Vrindavan, which wasn't a nice bus. It was, you know, and at that time it was literally like 5 rupees or something. Then one time they had to send something to the bank, and it was a question of, it was cheaper to put a stamp on it than it was to pay the rupees, you know, the paisa to go to the bank. I mean, Prabhupada, you know, you could save a penny, he would save it. He would do that. He didn't like any water dripping, lights on, fans on, all bad. It's all bad. If you're not there, it's just Maya. It wasn't even about, it's not about being money, it's Krishna's energy. Everything is Krishna's energy. So you don't wait, you don't take more than you need. Anything we take more, then you're responsible for that. That's Ishupanishad, right? Sri Upanishad. Take only what you need, everything you leave. I told you when we were staying at the very wealthy Bollywood director's house, we all had beautiful rooms. Prabhupada called me in because we always had the opposite in India. It was a struggle. So he knew I was very happy in this room, nice marble room, bathroom, everything, hot water, cold water, things we didn't have. So he called me in. He said, Sruta Kirti, he said, you like it here? He liked to play with me because he knew what I liked. So he just liked but he always taught me. He was teaching me. He said, you like it here? Yes, Prabhupada, very much. He said, yes. He said, if Krishna gives us a bed, we'll sleep in a bed. But if he doesn't give us a bed, we sleep on the floor. No, it was in Brussels. I had so many places, I don't even watch. I mean, the room I was in was very, very small. I took a shot from the side just to see the room. And then here, you know, staying in the brahmachari ashram, behind the other brahmachari, whatever Krishna provides, it's okay. Because our business isn't being comfortable. Our business is, as Prabhupada said, his business was, anyone know what Prabhupada says when he traveled around? So my business is giving milk. That's what Prabhupada said. Giving milk, giving nectar. That's the business of a preacher, a talker. You not just talk philosophy. You've actually got to grab people. You got to give them something. That's what Prabhupada did. You know, we walked away every time feeling you were ready to be Krishna conscious. That's how you felt when you left him. I can do this. He made it seem like it was so easy. Just do what I'm doing. That's what he always said. Just do what I'm doing. And if you watched him, you know, it didn't look like what he was doing was hard. It looked very nice. Classes. I say it's good to listen to Prabhupada's audios, and it's even better when the videos you can see his classes. When you hear Prabhupada, I always see two things. There's two things that I hear is urgency. When he speaks, he's not just talking, he speaks with urgency, like he knows he's not going to be here very long, and maybe even you're not going to be here very long. So his message is very clear and very urgent. And the other thing, you just hear love. So all he does is talk about Krishna all the time. Everything's to bring us to Krishna. You can feel that. His love of God. So it's nice to actually watch him, hear how he speaks, learn how he speaks. His lectures, so wonderful. Sometimes after his class, after breakfast, he'd ring the bell. He'd say, "Did you record class this morning?" "Yes, Prabhupada." He'd say, "Bring it, I want to listen." He said, "It was very good class." Like someone else, he not with pride, but he said it was a very good class, So he would listen to his classes. He was impressed. Yes?
Could you say something about, because as the saying goes, familiarity breeds contempt.
Mm.
So how did you avoid becoming contemptuous of being so close to Prabhupada?
Mm. I don't think any of us did avoid. That's why we all left eventually, not a bad way. I find I can't speak for anyone else. With myself, I've always felt very fallen. I've always been very fallen, and when I saw Prabhupada, I could always see he was not at all fallen. He was pure devotee. That much I recognized. I was used to getting orders. I was very good at taking orders. And you saw that, right? And he said, "Anybody want anything? You want bread? But whatever, I'll serve anyone." So that's the attitude you need to be successful in Krishna consciousness. You've got to be ready to do what anyone asks. So that was always there. I became agitated. I finally had a wife and a child, and I just wanted to be with them. I just became attached. And you become inattentive. That's the part of familiarity. You can say not contempt, but certainly I remember becoming a little inattentive, like even knocking over the oil, because it's always conscious. You have to be conscious. Prabhupada was always aware. Like I said, when he walked, he always knew where he was going. He never bumped into things, or he didn't look this way, that way. He was focused on what he was doing. I'll tell you one story. This was towards the end. 2 months later, I was telling Prabhupada I wanted to stay in Hawaii. So Prabhupada had flown from, he'd flown early in the morning. He flew from Sydney to Melbourne, or Melbourne to Sydney. So Madhavisa was meeting him in Sydney with breakfast, because we had to leave so early, we had nothing to eat. So breakfast, very important meal. And Prabhupada had 3 meals a day when I was with him. And when he was ready to take prasadam, it should be there. He was so regulated. He would say, prasadam should be 1 o'clock. If you don't bring it at 1 o'clock, immediately, he said, disease begins. Because you know it's time to eat. Already digestive juices are flowing. So it has to be there. That was how it was to be with him. So anyway, he's ready for breakfast. So the arrangement was, we're in the transit lounge in Sydney. In Madhavisa is Maharaj. He's going to bring, he said, I'll bring the deity plates, the breakfast, which was very nice. Halva, orange juice, lots of fruits. So, and Prabhupada would eat in the transit lounge. Anyway, they wouldn't let Madhavisa in for the longest time because he was not flying. It's a transit lounge. You can't just walk into it, even back then. But after, I guess, a long, long time, and Prabhupada and I are sitting in the transit lounge, and he's, where's my breakfast? Why isn't Madhavisa here? And of course, I don't know anything. But he wasn't happy because he wanted to eat. So finally, Madhavisa shows up. Prabhupada, I'm so sorry. He said they wouldn't let me in, and I had to prove that, he's saying so many things. Immediately, Prabhupada said, that's all right. He said, you're here now. Because here now, and as he's bringing it, they're calling us for the flight. Now we have to board the flight, so he still couldn't eat. And this was the one flight, I think they flew Prabhupada first class from Sydney to his next stop, whatever it might be. And we were in first class. Prabhupada once he was in there, he said, this is a waste of money. He said, we're not eating anything they have, because all they do is ply you with alcohol and, better food than behind you, and you have a bigger seat. But Prabhupada was not big. He didn't need leg room or anything, because we were always next to him. If he needed any room, he would just tell us to go behind him, and he could lie down, he could do as he liked. So that wasn't a factor. So he said, don't waste your money on first class ticket. But this time, we're in this Boeing 747, the biggest air carrier there has been, I guess. And in the main part of the cabin, there's like 10 seats across, or even more, 3 different rows. In the middle, there's like 6 seats. But in the front, he was in the very first row. Now, these are big first class cabin seats. And of course, you walk in, and everyone's so friendly, and he had his coat. Can I take your coat? Oh yes, here, I gave Prabhupada's coat. Can I grab your? So it was so very different. And for me, I was delighted somebody was doing something. So we sit down, people are boarding the plane, and Prabhupada starts eating. He has his first class, he's put the table out. We have the tray, the deity's tray. It's all silver goblet, silver bowls, silver plate. He's got the Raj Bhog plates. And he was hungry and he's eating. And the plane begins, and no one says a word to him because there's no use saying anything to him, So the plane's now taxiing down the runway. And Prabhupada's eating. And I'm holding the orange juice glass so it doesn't tip over. And he's not paying any attention to anyone. And then the plane's taking off, so I'm now, and he's taking prasadam. And the plane's in the air, and finally he said, okay, he was finished. He didn't eat everything. Now, me being unconscious at the moment, this was mine to eat. I just had to take it off, but I didn't. So as soon as he's done, what happens? The stewardess comes up. Oh, can I take that for you? Clean it. So me and my foolishness, yes, Prabhupada doesn't say anything. Now I let her take his deity plates. So the flight goes on for a few hours. I'm sitting next to Prabhupada, and I'm completely unaware of what's going on, what's happened, what I just did. So finally we're getting off the plane, she gets the coat, gets Prabhupada's coat. Prabhupada didn't say one word to me. Now he knew what's happening, and I don't know, I was so bewildered. This is what I'm talking about. This is inattentive, becoming inattentive. So we get right to the edge of the plane, and there's the stewardess, big smile, in the bag. Here's the plates. And she hands them to me. And Prabhupada looks at me. He said, where's the prasadam? This is Maha prasadam. Of course she threw it out. And I didn't even register the whole time. He just looked at me. He didn't say one word. He looked at me. It was worse than yelling. My wife sometimes says that to me. Your quiet's worse than any scream. I learned it from my mother. That was her method. She never yelled. I lived in a household. My father died. I was 3. My mother never yelled. If she got angry, she got quiet. So our house was always very quiet. Either quiet in peacefulness or quiet in anger. And Prabhupada learned that about me, that he could yell at me without opening his mouth. He just looked at me. So that's what he would do. And he just looked at me like, you fool, you nonsense. He didn't say, of course we're in a public place too, he's not going to scream at me. If it was in his room, he might have said something. But under the circumstances, all he had to do was look at me. So that was one of the items I realized it should have never happened. So this is what happens sometimes with familiarity. I don't realize the thing. Devotees, they, beat each other up to get the Prabhupada's Maha plate first. To get to the Maha Prasadam. When I was in Vrindavan, with one of the temple presidents, after Prabhupada's lunch, I had it, I was going out to distribute. Now this is 1975. He offered me $100 for Prabhupada's Maha, which made me even more defiant to not give him anything. I said, no. That's like $1,000 now, $100. So he offered me all this money just for Prabhupada's Maha. It was so special. Yes, question. Got an hour left or so, and then you'll have to wait. Who knows? It's been 12 years since I've been here. I'm trying to work out next year. Yes.
We're talking about the female reporters.
Yeah.
I read in your book, it was also on an airplane. Srila Prabhupada says, this magazine.
Yes. He was flying from Japan to Hawaii. So this was a 75 too. So, and this time I wasn't sitting next to him. Sitting next to him was Nitai, who's a Sanskrit editor at Paramahamsa. So in the seats they had magazines. You could get the magazines. They usually had. So right in the magazine, it was like Time or Newsweek, big national magazine in the U.S. And there's women on the front of the magazine. They're like marching. It said women's liberation. Women's liberate, women's live. So, and if you look closely, you could see these women. And behind them, there's like a bonfire. So they're burning their braziers is what they're doing. Because they're liberated. This is the idea of what it meant to be liberated. So Prabhupada always found this whole thing just very humorous. So he's looking at the magazine and he sees the picture. And Nitai's sitting next to him. And now here comes this lady, stewardess, down the aisle. Of course, the stewardess, they were all young, they're all pretty. They all have... So she's coming down the aisle, long hair. So Prabhupada pokes Nitai. He said, tell her she wants to be liberated, shave her head. And she's coming, and Prabhupada keeps poking him and say, go on, ask her, you want to be liberated, shave your head. But he didn't. Prabhupada challenged him.
It didn't last on the Prabhupada's association office.
Hmm?
He did not last in Prabhupada's association. Nitai.
Nitai, no, he did. He was a Sanskrit editor. He saw discrepancies, I guess. He thought he knew Sanskrit better. And Prabhupada always said there were a few of them that fell away. Gopi Purananand was in there forever. Prajumna, who's the other one? Kushakrata. They were all just surrendered souls. Whatever Prabhupada said, it was fine. But there were sometimes I would think translations maybe should have been done differently. The words like this, why Prabhupada used this word. Prabhupada's whole mood was certainly very special. It was devotional. His whole mood was to just bring us to Krishna. Nitai, at one time, again, Prabhupada, he would very often during his massage, the secretary would come in and he would read letters. Prabhupada would dictate responses. And the Sanskrit editor could come in and ask questions about the translation, Sanskrit words, transliteration, like that. So one day I'm massaging Prabhupada in the morning before lunch. Nitai comes in, he offers obeisances. We didn't do dandavats, we offered obeisances. Said pranam mantras. And he sat up and he asked a question. And Prabhupada answered. Then he left the room. And then 5 minutes later, he came back again. So he bows down, said something, came up quicker, and asked a question, and Prabhupada answered the question. So then the third time, we say threes, and threes, you'll see threes. Third time he comes in. The third time he comes in, he just bounced his head on the ground, sat up and starts talking. And Prabhupada looked, he said, what is this hatchet? 'Cause that's what he did with his head. He just, boom. But Prabhupada said, what's this hat? He called it a hatchet. It was, again, very descriptive word. You know? He's literally cutting. He said, you offer your obeisances when you come before the spiritual master. He said, not this hatchet. Again, he tried to protect us from falling down, because that's what you do. You would become familiar. So he thought, and I say, I went in Prabhupada's room dozens of times a day. Lunchtime, sometimes I would be in and out of his room 10 times, just bringing a little subject, bringing 6 chapatis one at a time, you know, filling up a little more dal, a little more rice. Every time I went in, I offered obeisances. Every time. He never said, you reached your quota today. See, there's no quota in Krishna consciousness. There's always more. Always more. But the more you do, the more bliss is there.
How, if you brought chapatis, or how did you do obeisances?
Well, you know, I would bring it in. So you bring it, first thing you do, you come in, you bring him his plate. Put it down on the table. So that has everything on it. 1 chapati. And chapati's puffed up. You have little ghee on the top. Every chapati puffs up and you put ghee on the top. If it doesn't puff up, don't bring it. Mine always puffed up. Because I'm puffed up. No, Radharani was very kind. Somehow or other, I was very good at making chapatis. He would eat. 1, 2, 3. So every time I go in, it's on a little plate. I would slide it onto his plate, and then I offer obeisances and leave the room. Again, it's sometimes 20 times a day. You know, I could be in and out. But there's never a time when we can change what our position is. I was very happy. I never thought about it. See, these were the things. I never had questions. Why am I doing this? When I cook, and so many devotees over the years, they say, when you cook for Prabhupada, did you offer it? And I'd say, yes. I'd say, I bring it into the room, put it on the table, and offer it to him. He said, no, do you say prayers? I say, he's right there. There's no question of praying. He's right in front of you. I told that on the train in India. You know, he told 71, they stopped in Vrindavan, somewhere in Braj. He said, at the train stop, he said, buy some kachoris. He said, we'll have kachoris. He said, they're okay, they cook nice, but. So the devotee brings them in, cleans the table, puts the kachoris down in the train. And then he starts to get down on his knees. The Prabhupada says, what are you doing? He said, I'm offering the kachoris. He said, I'm right here. So there's a difference. Right? There's oneness and difference. I never said I just cooked him. I was cooking for Prabhupada and delivering it to him. So that was the offering. But for some people, it's very hard to understand that. But for me, I never thought twice of how I was supposed to do something. I didn't have pictures of anyone I was with Prabhupada. I was traveling with him.
This you mentioned with kachoris, was it on a tourist station? Or
somewhere, some station.
I mean, that was not usual policy, but he must have known that place specifically? Or?
We've eaten on the planes, vegetarian, Air India at that time. He stopped doing things because he saw what was an exception was a rule. As soon as he would do something, everyone thought they could do it all the time. If he was on a plane, like Air India, they had vegetarian meals. He wasn't opposed to it while we were traveling, you know. But later he saw he had to be very, very careful because we like to do all silly things, you know. The rest of the things, you know, the chanting and all that, that was what do you call, optional. But if we saw he did something that was fun for us, you know, like drinking the 7-Up, you know, then we put cases in our fridge, you know, even though he had it once, you know, to us it was okay, it's okay now. Yes. In the back?
Yes, I have one question from my friend who couldn't come.
Hmm.
Because every morning we are singing Gurvastakam, yes? And we are singing Nikunja Yunara Tikal Sidya. It means that the spiritual master is always...
We know that was written for his spiritual master. That is how he sees his spiritual master. That's his relationship. So that's the song. But go ahead on with your question.
Yeah, and then it means that the disciple should think of his spiritual master as he's meditating about the confidential pastimes of Radha and Krishna.
Yes, sure, someday.
Yeah, so how it applied to Prabhupada, he was always like in the mood of that meditation, and how now we, like the disciples of Prabhupada, should perceive that that thing.
Yeah, I just today I was reading things more about Prabhupada. People speculating on Prabhupada's spiritual form. Some like to say he's in Madhurya Ras, some say he's random. Like Prabhupada said, he twice, reading Krishna book, he told me twice, he said, I like the cowherd boys very much. So some devotees like to take that as a signal that Prabhupada here is showing his swarup. And others like to take other things and say, of course, it's Madhurya Ras. But the only thing that I see is that none of us know anything. That's why we're speculating about it. Right? We don't know who we are. When you know who you are, then you'll know who Prabhupada is. Then you'll know your relationship with your spiritual master, his relationship with his spiritual master, and with Krishna and Radha and everything else. Well, we can go on talking about these things. But no one has said, this is what it is, because no one knows. And as what I see is we just expose ourselves of being very neophyte, because we just want to try to figure these. It's nice, it's a nice meditation and all, but you're never going to get the final answer until yourself becomes self-realized. That's the answer, is become self-realized. If you want to know, do the work. I've heard Prajumnas Prabhupada said, if you knew, you'd faint. But that's what I know to me. He said, I like the cowherd boys very much. Well, what is he going to look at me and say? I like the gopis very much. That wouldn't have been a very proper thing to say to me. And of course, it was describing cowherd boys in Krishna book, and it certainly does. But then there's also cowherd boys that are engaged in Radha Krishna pastimes and assisting Radha Krishna pastimes. We try to understand things that are way beyond our scope in spiritual life and spiritual matters, and what we can do, how we can be in different places at the same time. These things are beyond our capacity. So the real thing is, Prabhupada said, just first get out of here, then we can figure it out. So we pray these things again. He was writing about his spiritual master, and when that prayer was done, of course, Prabhupada gave it to us to chant. And we like to think of him in all those situations. But, and Prabhupada's here. Like I say, he's right here. In Vrindavan, 1975, when they had the grand opening in Krishna Balaram temple, Prabhupada's offering obeisances in front of Gaurnitai deities, and he's sitting on the altar. So this is his position. That's what we need to know about Prabhupada's position. He put himself there right under Gaurnitai, along with his spiritual master. So whatever his position is, it's a very solid one, and I want to follow him. So I want to stick with him. But he kept these things private. Once when a devotee asked Prabhupada, it was Rishikeshananda, he had just come back from being with one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, who was a sannyasi now. I don't know if you knew Rishikeshananda. He asked Prabhupada when he came back, he said, because they're discussing these things at the temple in Gaudiya Math, he said, discussing the Swarupa. And Prabhupada said, we don't. He said, we don't talk about these things. So that he just cut it off. And every time it happened, he just cut it off.
Yes, this from your book, there's a point where you read Krishna book for Prabhupada, and that when he was laughing, then the scenes were
Oh, you mean when I was, yes,
Yeah, you
I
were
told,
reading the Krishna.
yeah, I told that for sure.
Maybe I wasn't here.
About, yeah, David Gorilla, I read the story the next day. I was describing, that was my first experience, Prabhupada laughing and laughing and laughing. So he continually did that off and on with me, so I always felt that very happy.
Wasn't that also the point from that chapter that you ask where to read from, and Prabhupada says read from everywhere in scripture.
You want to hear the whole story? I guess I can tell. I'll tell this story. So it was my first service to Prabhupada. It was before I was a servant. So I'm in Los Angeles. I get Brahmin initiation. And I'm reading Krishna book to him in the garden every afternoon. All for a week. And he just, the previous devotee had just left, and Karandra said, when Prabhupada asks, we read Krishna books. So then you just get a service, and you have it until you're not there anymore. So the first day, I just started reading this story, and it was Krishna killing a demon, Krishna Balaram killing a demon. And I'm just reading, and there's 5 or 6 of us in there with Prabhupada. But when I came to the spot where he just kills this demon, Prabhupada started laughing and laughing and laughing. Same thing, slapping you. He would get, that's the height of laughter when you start slapping your knee. When you have the tears coming down, the whole body would shake, and he slapped his knee. And we're just listening to the story, but Prabhupada went into ecstasy. So now we're all laughing because he's laughing. We weren't laughing because Krishna killed the demon. We were laughing because Prabhupada enjoyed it so much. So that made me very happy. That was, and again, I said, that's when I saw Prabhupada laughing like that, then I was like, this is Krishna consciousness. This is what we want, the bliss, not anxiety. We don't say chant Hare Krishna to be in anxiety all the time. We say chant Hare Krishna, be happy. So this is the happiness that we're after. So then I just continued reading, everything settled down. But I knew the next day, I got my story. I'm going to read this one story. It was David Gorilla. That was my favorite story in Krishna book. Because he was just obnoxious, I could relate to that as a young man, we call it toilet humor. That's what he did, toilet humor. So boys like that, young boys, even not so young boys, I guess. And so I decided tomorrow, when he asked me to read, I'm going to read this story. And when I say this one line, and it wasn't when he was killed, but I said, when I say this one line, Prabhupada's going to laugh, just like he did yesterday. I just assumed it for some ridiculous reason. I just had this idea. The same thing was going to happen. So the next day comes, 24 hours later, sitting in the garden. I'm right in front of Prabhupada, sitting in the grass. And, sometimes he would chant and talk, and so then he would just go, okay. That's it. It wasn't, okay, now you can read the book. And he would just look at you. So again, I was learning how Prabhupada did things. I was attentive. I saw I was doing everything. So I started reading, and my heart's beating because this line's coming up within a couple of minutes, and I'm convinced he's going to do the same thing. So finally, I came up to the line. What is it? What's the big gorilla do that was just so obnoxious? He starts urinating on the yajna, the fire sacrifices the Brahmins are having. So I thought that was hysterical. So I'm reading it, and as soon as I say it, Prabhupada started laughing, and laughing, and shaking, and laughing, and slapping his knee. And the tears are coming down, and he did it exactly right where I thought he would. I still have no idea how that happened, and I never thought it wouldn't happen. It was like a deja vu before it even occurred. It was a premonition, and I'm not one for premonitions. I'm not a psychic kind of person. I'm like 2 feet on the ground. Very gross body I have. I don't see anything subtle. but I just assumed Prabhupada's going to, and he did it. I don't know why he did, but he did it. So then the next day comes, I'm reading Krishna book every day, and Prabhupada's laughing hysterically every day. I'm like, so now I'm sitting there, but I didn't have any preparation. I didn't pick a story for some reason. Krishna took my intelligence from me. So now we all go in, we sit down and offer obeisances. As soon as I sit up, he looks at me, read. So he didn't give me any time. He knew what I was up to. Always knew what I was up to. Still knows what I'm up to. Read. So he didn't give me time to find my story of demon, because I have to read about demons, so he'll laugh. So I start looking. Anywhere. Krishna's like a sweet ball. So wherever you bite, it's sweet. So then I just went to the next story and started reading it, because Krishna's like a sweet ball. We don't pick and choose everything of it. We just love everything about him. That was Prabhupada. That was his way. He loves Krishna. And he's trying to give us, he's sharing it with us. But yeah, that was very, and all I can say is Prabhupada's very merciful, because he satisfied my desire, you know. Anyone else? Any others? Here, let me see. Who's asked more questions here? We'll give you a chance.
You said you mentioned something about we should ask about Govardhan, your pastimes with Prabhupada in Govardhan.
Govardhan. It wasn't my pastimes with Prabhupada in Govardhan. It was me living in Govardhan for 2 years. But we'll focus on Govardhan's there on the altar. So anyway, he's very kind too. Prabhupada has Govardhan taking care of him now, traveling with him. We have the slippers. So I have to go up and get the slippers.
Someone could go.
You can go up.
I can go.
That green bag on the side pocket. Okay. One, either the right or the left, you'll see a plastic bag there in the plastic. Just bring the whole thing down. And everybody can get Prabhupada's. These slippers, those of you who don't know, these slippers were on Prabhupada's feet 1975 when he took a Japan Airlines flight. Back in those days, they would give you slippers and nice meals and blinders and earplugs, you know, they gave you things. So Prabhupada took his shoes off and I put the slippers on his feet for the flight. So they were, you know, they're so easy to travel with that I have them with me. So that's so I bring Govardhan and Prabhupada's slippers. So no matter what I do, you get a lot of mercy when I'm traveling around from Prabhupada and Prabhupada's mercy. Being on the plane was always it was a lot of fun to travel with Prabhupada. When I was in Radhadesh, I had to tell this one story. When we went from India, we flew to Melbourne, Australia, for the installation. Prabhupada installed the deities there, I believe, 1973, the end of 1972. And they're marble deities, like about that height, they're white marble deities. So myself and Bali Vardhan carried them from Delhi to Melbourne, stopping in 2 airports on the way. So they're heavy. So I carried Radharani, he carried Krishna. So every time we get on the plane, now Prabhupada would sit at the window, Radharani sat next to him, and then I sat over at the aisle, and she would stand in the seat. So then we went from that flight, then of course we had to get off, we went in the transit lounge, then we came back out again, got on the next flight, we bring her back on the flight, the deities back on the flight. Then we go to Melbourne. And so now we're in Sydney at the airport in the transit lounge. And Prabhupada's sitting in the chair, Radharani's in the chair, and I'm sitting next to Radharani. And Prabhupada looks at me and he says, Krishna is very pleased with your service, with the austerity you've taken. And I was just, it was so nice to hear because I never thought anything particular. But I guess it was very particular. It was the deity of Radharani. So I don't know whether she said something or something. But it was the only time he ever said to me something like that. That it was very nice service. And I thought, how easy is it to serve Krishna? Huh? He was pleased. That was it. It was that simple. Prabhupada was pleased. Radharani was pleased. Krishna was pleased. Just by a little bit of service. So it's not difficult to do service. And once you understand, you can actually know when the spiritual master's happy with our service. Because that's all we want to do is please the spiritual master. And everything else, Prabhupada said, don't worry. Came to me, he said, don't worry, everything will be all right. So that's where it's at. So let's see. Oh, we still have some time. Any more questions? Okay, your turn. Since you got the slippers, we'll have to
No, in regards to Vrindavan,
Vrindavan.
on the altar, Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta, they're on Gaunitai's altar.
Yes.
Prabhupada.
In New Navad, we tutor on the altar, and there are many temples, Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta are on it.
Prabhupada, he designed that, or he
Everything. This was 1974 when they opened it in 1975. So yeah, that was the temple that he built. That was his home. As he said, it's his home. Whenever Prabhupada was ill, he would go to Vrindavan. 67, after he had a heart attack, he went to Vrindavan to recover. He went to Vrindavan to recover or leave. Then in 1970, again he went to Vrindavan. So whenever Prabhupada's health wasn't good, he went to Vrindavan. Vrindavan's very special. Even though when he was there, then of course he said he was going to go out on the road and preach and, die as a soldier preaching. But whenever he knew that was happening, he went to Vrindavan. In 74, he was in Vrindavan for a few months when he was ill. Then finally in 1977. So I'm making my base now in Vrindavan. I think it's time. That's what it's for. Prabhupada gave us these things for a reason. Vrindavan and Mayapur, he told the devotees to go there and become enlivened, to go back and preach. In Mayapur, at 75, we had 500 devotees come from all over the world, mostly from the U.S. It cost almost $500,000 in flights, right? Flights are pretty much the same prices now as they were then. So to fly to India from the U.S. was almost $1,000 round trip. So it was costing a lot of money. Well, Brahmananda, Brahmananda weighed over 300 pounds. He was a very big devotee in every way. He loved Prabhupada so much. He left a few years ago. So he said to Prabhupada, it's very expensive, he said, this festival. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars. He said, do you want to do this? Like every year, is this what you want to do? And Prabhupada looked at him and he said, how much does it cost to feed you in this lifetime? No, it meant a couple things. It meant you have to, you have to feed yourself. But this was food. This was our spiritual nourishment. Because it's not, it's preaching is an austerity and it's difficult. And you have to be strong so that Maya doesn't attack you, so that you don't fall down. So his idea was the strength comes by going to these places and to hear. He'd say, come and hear, sit and hear classes. That's what it was about for us. Now, of course, things are in so many, everyone, we're touring here, we're touring there, got to do this parikram and that, and visit this temple. And it's all very wonderful. But his mood was to go and become fixed up. and he made them all important. He said, Juhu is my office, Mayapur is my place of worship, Vrindavan is my home. So he let us become attached to each place, to see it, Prabhupada's places. So he made his places important to us, because he's important. We can't forget that importance. Otherwise, why would he say, go to Vrindavan, go to Mayapur? And he says, my home, my place of worship, my office. They're all tirthas. Everywhere he's been as a tirtha, but then some places are more invested than others. Vrindavan is Samadhi. He's right there in Vrindavan. His room's in Vrindavan. I went to the 40th anniversary of his passing. It was 2017, just 2 years ago. I traveled from Hawaii because I just wanted to be there for that anniversary. I know people that were living in India that didn't show up. I was completely bewildered. People living in Braj area that didn't show up because it was crowded. It was Prabhupada's disappearance day. We were all there for that. I traveled thousands of miles. I didn't sleep for coming and going just to be there. So we all have different perceptions of what's important. I just know. You just have to hang on to Prabhupada's lotus feet. That's what I know. I don't know anything else, any other means to actually feel secure in this world than to just stick with Srila Prabhupada. And I think it's working. It's worked thus far. It's working for me so far, so I'm just going to stick to it. I'm just going to keep doing it. Right? Secure there. When I was a servant, I would feel it. We talked about bubble of illusion. I feel like I was in a bubble of protection. If you could just be around them, you were always protected. But if you went away from it, then the protection could be gone. So to be in his room at night, I just felt so safe and secure giving him massage. In Mayapur, in this 1970, I guess it was 74, 75, the bathrooms, there was no running water by Prabhupada. He had his sitting room, there was his sitting room, there was his bedroom, and there were another 2 rooms. No one was using them while Prabhupada was there. Then there was a bathroom at the end. It was big. It ran the whole length or width of the building. So it had 3-4 sinks, 3-4 toilet stalls like that. So I would have to go in there with buckets of water, put by the toilet, put by the sink. When he took bath, I had to heat the water up. It was any facility. Anyway, one time, it was after lunch, so he has darshan in his room. There's a dozen devotees in there. And I go into the bathroom to set up the buckets for the toilet, open the door. So when I go in the bathroom, I open the door, there's this cobra in there. So of course I freak out. I drop the bucket and I run out of the room, run out of the bathroom. So the first person I meet is Bhavananda. If you don't know Bhavananda was very dramatic. Bhavananda's there. He's the first. So I didn't want to go to Prabhupada because I didn't want to disturb the situation. So I think I'll tell Bhavananda right away. I see him, I'll tell Bhavananda. So of course, it didn't go the way I thought. I said, Bhavananda, there's a cobra in Prabhupada's bathroom. So he said, oh my God. So now he runs into Prabhupada's room. So I'm running in behind him. And Prabhupada, Prabhupada, there's a cobra in your bathroom. There's a cobra in your bathroom. So everybody's freaking out. Everybody gets up. And everybody's coming outside of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada's got his hand in his bead bag. And the devotees are, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? There's a cobra. Of course, I'm not going in there. So he said, we had 2 Kshatriyas at the time, and they were both over 6 foot tall, Rasa Parayana and his brother. They were from America, from Chicago or Detroit. Anyway, they were our Kshatriyas, so somebody, go get them. So now we're all kind of out on the veranda, the balcony. Nice, beautiful balcony, marble balcony. And Prabhupada's watching everybody, and he goes, so many people, one snake? Like we're bringing in an army, there's just one snake in the bed. And now like everybody's ready to declare war, you know? And oh, where did this snake come from? How did this snake get up on the second floor? So then it's, you know, first, Rasaparayana comes in, he's got this knife, you know, and he's like, oh, this is bad. You know? So now the snake has gone into the bathroom, the toilet area. So he goes in there, and he's brave. The snake starts going down. Evidently, that's what it did. It came up the pipe, but he starts going down the pipe, and he's hacking away at it. Anyway, he kills the snake. It comes out and kills the snake. But then we go back into the room. Now everybody's all excited. This for Prabhupada, this is like, it's like opening night for, you know, his stand-up comedy routine now. He's just going to have so much fun with all his crazy disciples. But nobody really knows what's going on. Even I don't. Now I do. Now I see Prabhupada how he played with this, you know. So now he sits down behind the desk. And then Bhavananda says, where does the snake come from? So we had two theories. They said, the Gaudiya Math, because they're envious. So somebody came from the Gaudiya Math with the snake in his basket, released it there to kill Prabhupada. That was one theory. The other one was it was the commies, the communists. In West Bengal, a lot of communists. I mean, it was communist. So the communists are doing it because they're trying to drive the devotees outside. But then we kind of realized that it probably just made its way up the plumbing, up the pipe for some reason, I don't know. So then Prabhupada's sitting there, and he says, you know, the snakes, they travel in pairs. So right away, he wanted everybody, he says they travel in pairs. And it said that when you kill the snake, your impression goes into the eye of the snake. And the partner sees that and spends the rest of its life searching you out. So he's telling us that, so everybody, we're children. We believe everything he says, you know? And then you hear that? Yeah, so there was some sound outside. Sound. He said, that's the snake bird. That's described in the Bhagavatam, right? You know, the snake bird. What happens? Do you know? What happens? Where does the snake bird?
He kills Parikshit.
Yeah, but when it becomes a snake bird at the end of its life.
After 100 years, huh?
Yeah, it grows wings. So then it seeks out that person. So he said that sound, he said that's the snake bird. So he's got everybody all riled up about, we have snakes in the temple. You know, we have one, now we know there's another because Prabhupada said there's another one. So then that's all the hubbub's going on. So then, now it's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. So this is, I'm in Mayapur, in Prabhupada's bedroom. On his bed, because there's a mosquito net over the bed. So everywhere I massage Prabhupada, I would sit on the floor and lean up on the mattress and give him a massage, his legs and his feet. But here I had to actually climb in bed with him. So it's like the most wonderful thing you can do. You're in bed, sitting in bed with Prabhupada, massaging him, and you're completely surrounded by this mosquito net. So you're like in a tent. So you're like camping out with your spiritual master. So to me, that was like the most, and that's how I felt so safe. So then Prabhupada starts talking to me. He said, so, everyone is in anxiety about the snake? I didn't say that. I said, sure, he made them in anxiety. That's what he did. He put everyone in anxiety. He enjoyed it. He said, everyone is in anxiety? He said, you're in anxiety? I said, no, Prabhupada. I said, I'm not bothered. I said, but then I laughed. I said, but Prabhupada, I said, in our room next door, I said, Nitai. Now, Nitai and I were both there. And Prajumna was there. So 2 cents could have it. So I said, Nitai and I, we rolled down our mats And then Prajumna came and put his in between ours, even though ours were next to one another. Prajumna put his in between. And Prabhupada laughed. He said, "Oh yes, very smart." He said, "So he doesn't get bit by the snake." So Prabhupada knew what was going on. And then he said, yes. He said, "My godbrother told me," he said, "in a nearby village, he said there was one Brahmin. Somehow, he said, the family, they offended this Brahmin, and he cursed them. Your youngest will be killed by snake bite, and cursed them." So Prabhupada said they were very vigilant. He said every night, he said the baby would be in the middle, a little place, little room. The baby would be in the middle, and they all slept around to protect the baby. He said, but the snake came in and killed the baby. He said, "My godbrothers told me." And then he said, "We're not worried." He said, "We're not bothered." He said, "Krishna wants," he said, "no one can save you." He said, "If Krishna wants," he said, "no one can kill you." He says, "We're not worried." I said, "No, Prabhupada, not worried." He said, "Go ahead." But that's how it, but he was just so funny. I mean, everything he did was just to get his disciples so they'll think of Krishna, pray to Krishna. So he toyed with us in that way. And that was the cobra.
Did you call it the partner? Did you catch the partner?
No, we never saw the partner. Nobody else got bit by a snake or anything. I didn't know. Snakes, there's nothing more scary than a snake in front of you. You don't know whether it's poisonous or not, but they're definitely not a pleasant thing to look at. Of course, you go there and have the snake charmers. They're always trying to get you to pay some rupees to watch them do silly things. Anyone over here? Any ladies? No question? Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
Harisori, he relates in his memories of Prabhupada. It seems like at that time, Prabhupada, he was actually getting more and more, had health issues, more and more, but it seems a period when you were with him.
I've seen more and more. I was with him when he was at his healthiest, for sure.
Like
Before me, he was also, again in the evening, when I was with him, he would ask for something almost every evening. But I've talked to Nanda Kumar, Govinda Dasi, Hari Sari. Prabhupada didn't eat in the evening when he was with, we're talking 70, 71, 76, 77. But for me, it was, he'd call me almost every evening. Sometimes, one time, he said, "Make me paratha." He said, "Plain paratha." He said, "Do you know how?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, I'll show you." So he just showed me how to make plain paratha. He showed me things in simple ways, but nice. So he said, "Just make up chapati dough." He said, "When it's ready, call me." So I made the chapati dough. He said, "Now instead of flour, we use ghee." He said, "So put some ghee on the surface." He said, "Now you roll it out like a chapati, and turn it over, roll it out. So now it has ghee on both sides." He said, "Okay, now put it in half, and you put more ghee. And then you roll it out, and you put more ghee on it, and then you put it in quarters, and you roll it out so it becomes like that, triangular. So you have a quarter, so it's kind of like rounded, but it's like a triangle when you're done rolling it out. But you just keep ghee. It was ghee, ghee, ghee. Now you put it on the fire, you put ghee on there, because you have to cook it. So you put ghee, and then you just get your spoon, and you kind of make sure it's hitting the surface, and it starts to puff up. Then you turn it over, which is like a medium, more ghee on the top. So the thing's saturated in ghee, but it becomes like a crispy, flaky, delicious. It's just plain paratha. So he ate well when I was with him. It was very wonderful. One of the first things in San Francisco, we went there, we were staying at a guest house. The devotees spent days cleaning and painting this hippie house, so Prabhupada could stay there. Kid did really well. They did like a complete restoration, cleaning and painting. So we're there, and they had ghee in the wok. They made everything ready. So this was my first days with Prabhupada, my first week. So he called me in the room. He said, "You can make puris and chips." So I thought, all right. So for me, chips was American style. They're thin, crisps. You call them crisps in England. I don't hear what you call them, but we call them potato chips. So I'm thinking, how am I going to make potato chips? So I get the potato, I'm slicing it real thin, and I'm making potato chips. I fry them in the ghee. I make the puris, white flour. Puris were white flour. Make one puri, one at a time. And I bring it in, puri and chips. Prabhupada looks, he says, what's this? I said, they're chips, Prabhupada. He says, they're not chips. This is like my first days. I was like, oh my God, how could I get that wrong? And I didn't know. I didn't know for 30 years what he meant. But he never asked for chips again. So then I bring in another puri, and he says to me, he said, they're good. He approved, well, they were good. They're potatoes fried in ghee. What's not good? Anything fried in ghee is good. So he said, they're good. But he never asked for chips again. But it was literally, 2003 when I moved to England that I figured out what chips were. I mean, I knew, but then it hit me. Prabhupada was asking for French fries. And I would have loved to have given him them because I could eat those every day myself, but I missed that opportunity to give him fries or chips, his chips. Okay, or we should start with the slippers. Yeah. Any more questions? Tomorrow morning, not happening tomorrow morning. I'm not giving class tomorrow morning. Leaving at 8:30, right? 8:30 we'll be out of here, yeah. Yes?
How can you free yourself from false pride?
Pride means false. All our pride. You can free yourself. Prabhupada says we're proud to be servants of Krishna. He said that's our pride. Prabhupada was proud to be a Vaishnava. He wasn't ashamed. So that is our pride. We're very happy that we're servants of Krishna. Everyone, he said, everyone's serving someone. Serving mother, serving father, serving dogs, serving your boss. He said, but we're serving Krishna. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. So the false pride is thinking, we're Krishna. I mentioned, what did I say, Sachinandan Swami, he gave one very nice quote. Makes a lot of sense. He said, humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. You understand? Our business is Krishna. We're focused on Krishna. See, the pride is thinking, I, me, mine, like the George Harrison song, I, me, mine. We think everything's about us. That's false pride. We think we're important. We think people are thinking about us. Sometimes when people get concerned about someone saying this, that, and the other thing, I said, no one even cares. After today, it's all gone. Like you can be, we say that right in the West, 15 minutes of fame. Sometimes people do something, big famous, but it's gone in 15 minutes. Now it literally is gone in minutes. You put something on, Instagram, 24 hours, it's gone. Everything's so quick and cheap and useless. So the false pride is thinking our importance. So really the only thing that gets rid of it is understanding who we are. It's to realize Krishna is God, I'm his servant. There's no question of pride, realizing I'm insignificant. Prabhupada was so nice to see because he was aristocratic, but at the same time, he just exuded humility. Like he said, I was saying yesterday how, when anyone would say to Prabhupada, everyone loves you. So just because I love everyone. So that's humility. So we just need to achieve that, but it only is going to come through realization and association. And if necessary, just practice it. We just have to practice. what our position is. Like I said, my position was just lying there on the floor next to Prabhupada, very happily. That's who we are. I didn't know how to fold a chadar. My first day of service. What pride do we have? What do we know how to do that we should be so prideful? You know, the disciple thinks, whatever I know has come from my spiritual master. I don't know anything except what he's given me. That's a disciple. And if we like that, then pride's not a problem. Would you like to add anything to that? Lalitana Prabhu?
I don't know anything about not being proud.
Huh?
I don't know anything about not being proud.
We're all proud. But anyway, we can also try to dovetail that by giving it to others. You know, but see, the approach was, what did Prabhupada say? He approached these very wealthy men and say, "Sir, you're very wonderful. You're very this, you're very that. You're a great, great person. With a straw in your teeth, please just surrender everything to Krishna, except Krishna. You're very, very wonderful, and I approach you with a straw in my mouth." That's what Prabhupada's method was. In New Dwarka, again, when I was reading Krishna book every afternoon, so this is before I was serving, but I'm seeing Prabhupada, so many things, everything he does was just so amazing. So one afternoon, it was a devotee brahmachari in the temple. His parents had, I guess, paid for the landscaping of Prabhupada's garden. They had done something there. So they came to the temple. They came to the garden, Prabhupada's garden, to see Prabhupada. So Prabhupada was always very nice to parents. He always knew. So immediately, of course, he said to the mother, "You have a very nice son." I know that's any mother. That's all they know it already. Even if they're mass murderers, their mothers think their sons are nice. He didn't do it. So Prabhupada says, "You have a very nice son." "Yes," she said. "Yes, I know." She said, "But he has no ambition." She said he was in college. He was studying to be, and now he's just living in the temple, just devotee in the temple. He has no ambition. So the couple are there. The boy is there. His parents are there. Kirtanananda Swami is there. I'm there. A few other devotees. So Prabhupada looks. He says, "Yes." He says, "We have no ambition." Imagine. Now you would think Prabhupada was going to try to make some corrective mood. That's what some people thought. I didn't think anything. I'm just watching and listening. I'm learning. Prabhupada said, "No, we have no ambition." He said, "We just want to serve Krishna." And of course, the woman's now doubly perplexed that he admitted that he just has people that just want to, they looked at us like we didn't do anything. We're beggars in the street. We don't work. And Prabhupada would say, "We're working more than you. 20 hours a day we're working." He said, "We never stop working." So again, Prabhupada never became defensive in what we did. He always said, "This is a first-class business, and you should take care of us." That was how he dealt with things. So now she's looking, and Prabhupada says that. Kirtanananda Swami, very first sannyasi, first disciple, he said, what Prabhupada means to say is, devotee has no material ambition. Prabhupada blank. No, he said, devotee has no ambition. He just wants to do a little service for Krishna. And that was it. And I knew it. And I was no one. I'm still nobody. But as soon as Kirtananda said that, I thought, that can't be right. You can't give a commentary on their spiritual master's comment. You don't correct them. That's what he did. And Prabhupada slammed them. We could later see the ambition of ourselves, of these devotees. And that's what I saw Prabhupada trying to show. No ambition. You just want to do a little service. And if somehow by some good fortune you're doing your little service appears to be this huge, huge service, it's just Krishna's mercy, just the mercy of the spiritual master. Because we just want to do a little humble service. We're not trying to be big devotee, Prabhupada said. Be good devotee. Don't want to be big. That pride, huh? Big. Or even, like the one said, Prabhupada, most fallen. He said, you're neither the most nor least of anything. See, it's that idea. We want to be special. Either I'm going to be best devotee or I'll be the worst one. As long as I'm special and noticed. No one's noticing. We just want to notice Krishna. Or as Prabhupada said, his guru said, you act in a way that Krishna wants to see you, not the other way around. I've worked so hard. Why? Why are you not appearing? Why am I struggling? Why I don't have money? Why I don't have a nice place to live? I'm working so hard. Then if that's what you're thinking, then everything you're doing is wrong. With devotional service, we're not looking for anything in return. That is what you're looking for. To serve Krishna. Okay, we'll stop here, I think. I appreciate very much everyone coming every morning and evening. And I'm happy to be here. And it worked out very nice coming at this time. Huh? We were trying, almost came a week before and everything would have gone in a different direction, but I think it worked out very well. So thank you all.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, and I'll end it by, you can all get these on your head if you come up this way. Again, these are Prabhupada's feet, so